Netflix NFLX Beginner's Guide. When you sat down last night and pressed play on a show, there's a pretty good chance the little red N was the first thing you saw. Netflix, ticker NFLX, is the company that turned a movie rental by mail business into the world's largest paid streaming service, with more than 300 million paying members spread across 190-plus countries. Quick reminder before we go further, this is educational content only, not financial advice. We're going to walk through what Netflix actually does, who it competes against, and why the business has grown the way it has. So, what does Netflix actually do? Netflix sells one main thing, monthly streaming subscriptions, but the way that money rolls in is now split into three buckets. The biggest by far is the core subscription business, which brought in about $39 billion in 2025, or 91% of the company's roughly $43 billion in total revenue. That covers both the ad-free plans you might be used to and the cheaper ad-supported tier where commercials show up between scenes. The second bucket is advertising itself, about $3 billion or 7% of revenue, and this is the fast-growing piece. When somebody picks the cheaper ad-supported plan, Netflix gets paid twice, once by the viewer for the subscription, and again by brands, think soda companies, car companies, phone makers, who pay to run ads in front of those viewers. The third bucket, only about $1 billion, is what they call other, consumer merchandise tied to hit shows, licensing deals, and a new physical experience concept called Netflix Houses, where fans pay to walk through immersive sets from shows like Squid Game or Stranger Things. To make all of that work, Netflix relies on a network of partners. On one side, content studios like Sony, Universal, and Paramount license movies and series to Netflix, and thousands of individual creators, actors, directors, writers produce the original shows. The streaming itself runs on Amazon's cloud computing service plus Netflix's own private delivery network, a CDN, which stands for Content Delivery Network, basically a system of servers placed close to viewers so video loads fast. On the other side are the customers, those 300 million-plus paying members, plus the advertisers buying ad slots, plus retail partners who sell the licensed merchandise. The co-chief executive officers running the whole thing are Ted Sarandos, who oversees content, and Greg Peters, who oversees the product and ads business. So, who does Netflix compete with, and how does it win? Netflix's main rivals are the other big streaming services, Disney+, Amazon Prime Video, YouTube, Apple TV+, and Hulu. The competitive advantage, what investors call a moat, meaning the thing that keeps rivals from catching up, comes from a few sources that reinforce each other. First, Netflix owns more than 7,000 original titles outright. That's a library nobody else has, and importantly, it's protection against the rise of artificial intelligence chatbots that can summarize information, but can't legally stream exclusive shows you can only watch on Netflix. Second is pure scale. Netflix spends about $20 billion a year producing content, a budget no individual competitor can match, and those 300 million members create what's called a flywheel. More members bring in more revenue funds more shows attract more members. Round and round it goes. The third piece is global reach. Netflix operates in 190-plus countries with shows produced and dubbed in local languages. Think Korean dramas, Spanish thrillers, Indian originals, delivered by that Open Connect CDN we mentioned earlier. Building that infrastructure took more than 15 years, and the recommendation engine, the algorithm that suggests what you should watch next based on what you and millions of others have already watched, gets smarter the more people use it. One honest caveat the company itself acknowledges: artificial intelligence is changing the entertainment industry, and Netflix is better positioned than companies that just aggregate other people's content. But no streaming service is fully immune to how AI might reshape how people discover and consume video. What are the key drivers for the business over the past 5 years? Three forces drove most of the growth over the last 5 years. The first is the launch and scaling of the ad-supported tier. Netflix introduced this cheaper, ad-included plan in November 2022, a big strategic shift for a company that had been ad-free since day one. The ad business is now on track for roughly $3 billion in 2026, which is roughly double what it brought in the year before, and the ad-supported plans are growing faster than the traditional ad-free ones. Netflix also built its own ad tech platform, the software that decides which ad to show which viewer, and rolled it out across 12 major markets, which lets the company charge a CPM premium. CPM is just a unit advertisers use that means cost per 1,000 impressions, basically what brands pay for every 1,000 people who see an ad. The second driver is pricing power. As Netflix invested more in shows people genuinely want to watch, it raised prices on its plans globally, and most members stayed. Even with that $20 billion content budget, content spending is growing slower than revenue is growing, which is why the company's operating margin, the percentage of revenue left after paying for content, salaries, and other operating costs, expanded from 29.5% in 2025 toward a target of 31.5% in 2026. The third driver is the password sharing crackdown. For years, members were sharing passwords with friends and family for free, and Netflix decided to convert a lot of those freeloaders into paid sub-accounts. That paid sharing rollout added millions of new paying members. Layered on top, Netflix has been pushing into adjacent formats, live events like NFL Christmas Day games, boxing matches, WWE wrestling, plus its own games and podcasts, to give members more reasons to watch more often and to justify those higher prices. To wrap up, so in one sentence, Netflix is a global streaming service that uses its enormous content budget, member base, and recommendation algorithm to keep you watching, and is now layering on advertising, live events, and games to grow further. As you keep learning about this company, the two things worth keeping an eye on are how fast the ad-supported tier scales toward and beyond that $3 billion run rate, and how Netflix's live event push, football, boxing, wrestling, plays out, since those are the kinds of events that traditionally lived on cable television. As always, this is educational content only, not a recommendation to buy or sell anything. It's a starting point for your own homework.